Hello again and welcome to this week's video briefing. Over recent months we've engaged closely with our clients on developments in South Africa. It might be politics, it might be economics. Labour issues particularly have focused client concern. This evening President Jacob Zuma is going to give his annual State of the Nation address, where we believe he's going to tackle some of those issues and set out programmes for alleviating them where appropriate. Today I'm delighted to say I'm here with Dr. Jo Ford, back from South Africa this very morning. Jo, let me start by asking you, what do we imagine is going to come forward from the President at what after all has been rather a difficult time in his presidency?
It has been a difficult time, although he's entered the new year with renewed confidence. He received a very strong mandate in the ANC's internal five-yearly leadership conference in December. I don't think there'll be too much in terms of surprises from the State of the Nation address. I think what markets and what domestic business and investors and so on are looking for in South Africa or from the State of the Nation address is a sense of more of the tone than of the content. I think the content will be affirmation of the National Development Plan, which was heralded or revamped, I guess, in December, the state infrastructure spending plans that the government has for stimulating the economy. The one thing where there'll be a lot of attention, at least from markets, is the dilemma that the ANC faces in terms of promoting competitiveness and employment and job creation in a situation where it faces politically union demands to produce jobs that have a certain level of remuneration and dealing with a situation of high unemployment where the focus is on job creation, whatever the quality of the job that results. Yes. And reaching that, making that balance in both fiscal terms, because there are measures being proposed for government stimulus to encourage private sector job creation. So there'll be a lot of focus on that, those sorts of issues. Although from markets' perspective, I think the focus will come at the end of the month when the finance minister gives his budget policy statement.
So there'll be a lot more granular detail.
More granular, but also, I mean, the underlying concern in recent ratings agency downgrades in South Africa was the sense that as it becomes or perceives itself to be under pressure politically, the ANC might relax its record of fiscal discipline and increase social spending and so on at a rate that is unsustainable. I don't think we're going to get that from Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan at the end of February.
We can't talk about Africa for long without talking about the commodity side of things, the mining side of things perhaps in particular. And you were at the Indaba, this great gathering in Cape Town of the mining world, set, although not close to anywhere mining is undertaken, but on the continent where it's such an important factor. What did you detect from your engagements there were very much the fore on people's minds?
Well, some of the bigger themes that one would expect a lot of attention really when one's looking at African mining and the African outlook related to mining, one has to some extent be a China analyst because so much of the demand, at least for certain commodities, is driven by what's happening inside China and around that. And that certainly marked the conference itself. Another theme, I suppose, that came through was how, although it's hosted in South Africa, as you say, it's an Africa mining conference, and indeed much of the attention was on non-South Africa, Africa, and these newer mining jurisdictions, some not so new, but at least a decade, and compared to South African new mining jurisdictions, and the sense that South Africa is maturing. It's quite a complicated place to operate in terms of labour relations, in terms of costs of per ounce or what have you, the costs of production, and so a sort of excitement about some other jurisdictions. Although I would say that many of these are not without their challenges, and so there is to some extent a kind of counter swing, a pendulum swing of caution, saying, well, in many of these settings, the infrastructure challenges, the challenges of finding skilled labour, the above-ground challenges, the regulation, the government support, the government understanding of the long-term cycles that miners need to deal with and funding cycles that they need to deal with. And there South Africa still has the advantage. It's a mature mining jurisdiction in a good sense.
Indeed. Let's move on and consider for a few moments in conclusion, Jo, the wider growth story, because we do have in numbers of jurisdictions some very promising developmental indicators coming up. They've caught the attention of markets, of investors, of the ratings agencies. It's a very positive story there. With that positive story goes some negativity in the sense that the problems mount as well. The relationship between growth and governance is one dimension of that. This is very much the core of our work with clients on Africa, on our Africa practice as well, isn't it?
It is, although, I mean, there's always a distinction to be made within some ostensibly stable countries. There are difficult parts to operate, and then within some ostensibly unstable countries, there are sort of islands of stability where at least commodity extractive industries can operate quite easily and unremarkably. But yeah, what we're tracking with as we follow the Africa growth story is how some of the social and political tensions that we're seeing are happening not despite the fact that there's high growth, but because of this high growth, and the way in which that growth is not necessarily either trickling down or it's not inclusive in a sense that meets the high expectations of especially quite young populations. And so some of the frictions and some of the turbulence that we're seeing around some of these high growth jurisdictions is in fact a function of the fact that they're growing at such a rate, and that the political and social and other indicators are not necessarily keeping level.
Jo, thanks very much, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about how our work at Oxford Analytica can help you in your investment and business decisions, whether it be in Africa or indeed anywhere else, do contact us via our website. We look forward to hearing from you. For the time being, goodbye.